The book of Proverbs says that the tongue has the power of death and has the power of life. James, the brother of Jesus, actually says the same thing, that in the tongue we find the power of life and death. But what we see as we dive deeper into communication is that sometimes the issue is not with just the things that we say, but on everything else that's going on in our lives. There are ways that we can overcome, and today I'm going to show you how. I'm Brock Carlisle, a pastor and a licensed counselor, and this is Whiteboard Wednesday. One of the most important pieces of effective communication is the ability to be fully present. Sometimes it's not possible just because of the things that are taking place around us, and sometimes it's not possible because of the things that are taking place inside of us. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Let's say that we're having an effective communication moment where it's important for us to communicate effectively, and the conversation that we're having has a clear direction to it. There is a direction that the conversation should be going, and we as participants in this conversation should be doing our part to move the conversation down the road. So this is effective communication and what it looks like, and we should be all in on this. However, there are times when maybe our mind just isn't in where it should be. Maybe we're thinking about the things that we didn't do that we should have, or the things that are coming up that we have to do the next few moments. On top of that, we also have our emotions. It's possible for our minds to be in one place and our emotions to be in another place. And when it comes to communication, it's possible for our mind to be one place, our emotions to be another place, and the direction of the conversation to be in a completely different place. But that's not at all that's taking place in today's world. In today's world, a lot of communication takes place with the use of technology. If you're texting someone or if you're reading an email, something that's in print, then you can't hear the tone of voice, you can't see the facial expressions or the body language, and because of that, a lot of communication is actually missed. And so we also have the limitations of technology. And when we put all of these together in an overlay, what we see is that the amount of communication that was effectively communicated is significantly smaller than what it should have been. And the reason is our minds weren't where they needed to be, or our emotions weren't where they needed to be, or the technology we were using limited us in our ability to effectively communicate. To overcome that, you really just have one of two choices. The first choice that you have is to become fully present. This is a skill that you can hone. You can hone your ability to set things aside. You can train yourself in the moment to realize this is a moment when communication has to be gotten right. And because of that, whatever my mind is wandering to, I'm going to lock in. Wherever my emotions are right now, I'm going to set those aside. I'm going to press the pause button on my emotions. If technology is limiting me, I'm going to switch to a different medium, or I'm going to pick up the phone, or I'm going to ask if we can have this conversation in person. The things that I'm going to do, I'm going to limit the distractions, and I'm going to bring myself in line, in focus, so that I can effectively have this conversation. The only other option you have is to acknowledge that you simply can't do that. And sometimes that's just where we are. If becoming fully present is honing the ability to set things aside, acknowledging that you just can't do that right now is honing the ability to become honest. Sometimes with our emotional state or where our mind is, we just have to say, I'm sorry, can you give me just a second? Let me finish this, what I'm doing. Let me sign this paper. Let me finish this email. Let me finish typing this report. Let me just calm down because my emotions are out of control and I don't want to say something that I know I'll later regret. Whatever it is, we can hone the ability to become honest with the person with whom we're trying to communicate. And as we do that, they will respect what we need and we'll find ourselves in a better space later where we can come back, circle back around and have the conversations that we need to have. So when your mind isn't where it needs to be, when your emotions aren't where they need to be, or when technology is a limiting factor for you to take your active part in moving the conversation where it needs to go, you either become fully present or you acknowledge that you can't. You hone the ability to set things aside or you hone your ability to be honest.